The Valkyrie Interstellar Military Academy floated in the empty space between three star systems. It was the most famous military school in the known galaxy. For 800 years, the greatest warriors, commanders, and strategists had trained within its walls. Species from across the galactic compact sent their best young people here. To graduate from Valkyrie was to have your future guaranteed. Humanity had only gained admission 12 years ago. Before that, humans were considered too primitive, too young as a species, too fragile. The older races had traveled between stars for thousands of years. Humans had only discovered faster-than-light travel 3 generations back. They were newcomers, outsiders. Many species still did not believe humans belonged at Valkyrie. Cadet Marcus Chen walked through the eastern corridor of Training Block 7. He was small for a human male, standing only 5 feet and 6 inches tall. His black hair was cut short in military style. His uniform was always perfect. His boots were always polished. He never gave anyone a reason to notice him, and that was exactly how he wanted it. Marcus was 22 years old. He had grown up on a Mayan colony orbiting a brown dwarf star. Life there had been hard. Resources were limited. The cold was constant. But Marcus had discovered early that he had a gift. He could look at any machine and understand how it worked. He could solve problems that made others give up. His test scores in engineering and tactical analysis had been the highest in human history. That was why he was here. Not because he was strong or fast or brave, because he was smart. The corridor was empty at this hour. Most cadets were in the dining halls or recreation areas. Marcus preferred to study alone. He had found a small maintenance room on the far side of Training Block 7 where no one ever went. He could read his tactical manuals there without interruption. He turned a corner and stopped. 4 Karath cadets stood in the middle of the hallway. They were huge creatures, each standing over 7 feet tall. Their bodies were covered in thick gray skin that was almost like armor. Their faces were flat and brutal, with small eyes and wide mouths filled with sharp teeth. The Karath were one of the founding species of the Galactic Compact. They were warriors by culture and by nature. The leader of the group was Thrak. His family had produced admirals and generals for 600 years. He wore his status like a crown. Everyone at the academy knew to stay away from him. Marcus lowered his eyes and tried to walk past them. "Human," Thrak said. Marcus stopped. He did not look up. "Yes, Cadet Thrak." "Where are you going, little human?" "To study, Cadet Thrak." The 4 Karath laughed. The sound was harsh and ugly. "To study," Thrak repeated. "That is all you humans do. You study, and you read, and you hide. You are not warriors. You do not belong here." Marcus said nothing. He had learned that saying nothing was the safest choice. "Look at me when I speak to you," Thrak growled. Marcus raised his eyes. Thrak's face was twisted with disgust. "Do you know what we call your species back home?" Thrak asked. "We call you the soft ones, because that is what you are. Soft. Weak. Breakable. You live such short lives because you are too fragile to survive longer." The other Karath laughed again. "Your entire species is a mistake," Thrak continued. "The Compact should never have allowed you to join. You contaminate everything you touch. You make us all weaker just by being here." Marcus kept his face calm. Inside, his heart was beating fast. He wanted to run, but running would make things worse. "I apologize if my presence offends you," Marcus said quietly. "I will go now." He tried to step around Thrak. A massive gray hand grabbed his shoulder and threw him backward. Marcus hit the wall hard and fell to the ground. Pain shot through his back and his head. "You will go when I say you can go," Thrak said. Marcus tried to stand up. A boot caught him in the stomach. He doubled over, gasping for air. Another kick caught him in the side. Then another. "This is what happens to soft things," Thrak said. "They break." The other Karath joined in. They kicked Marcus as he lay on the ground. They laughed as they did it. To them, this was entertainment. This was fun. Marcus covered his head with his arms and tried to protect himself. He could taste blood in his mouth. His ribs screamed with pain. He wondered if this was how he would die. beaten to death on the floor of the most prestigious military academy in the galaxy. The monitoring systems in this section are offline, one of the chorus said. We made sure of that. Good, Thrak said. Then we can take our time. He raised his boot for another kick. His foot was enormous, as big as Marcus's entire chest. This kick would break bones. Maybe it would kill him. Marcus closed his eyes and waited for the pain. The pain did not come. Instead, he heard a voice. It was a female voice, calm and clear. Stop. Thrak lowered his boot. He turned around. The other chorus turned too. A human girl stood at the end of the corridor. She was average height for a human female, maybe 5 feet and 7 inches. Her brown hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore the same cadet uniform as everyone else. In her hands, she carried a datapad and a stack of study materials. She did not look afraid. She did not look angry either. Her face was completely calm. What did you say? Thrak asked. I said stop, the girl repeated. You are hurting him. Thrak smiled. It was not a nice smile. Yes, I am. That is the point. Stop hurting him, the girl said. The chorus laughed. Thrak walked toward her, leaving Marcus gasping on the floor. And what will you do if I do not stop, little human girl? Thrak asked. Will you report me? The monitoring systems are offline. There is no evidence. And my family has more power than your entire species. No one will believe you. The girl did not step back. She stood perfectly still as the massive chorus approached her. I am not asking you to stop because I will report you, she said. I am asking you to stop because it is the right thing to do. Thrak laughed. The right thing? There is no right thing. There is only power. The strong do what they want. The weak suffer. That is the law of the universe. No, the girl said. It is not. Go away, human, Thrak said. Wait your turn. After I finish with him, maybe I will teach you the same lesson. He turned back toward Marcus. He raised his boot again. Last chance, the girl said. Walk away. Thrak ignored her. His boot began to descend toward Marcus's head. Something happened. It happened so fast that Marcus could not follow it with his eyes. One moment, the girl was standing 10 feet away. The next moment, she was not there anymore. A sound filled the corridor. It was the sound of impact. The sound of something breaking. Thrak screamed. Marcus opened his eyes. Thrak was on the ground, holding his arm. The arm was bent at an angle that arms should not bend. The girl stood over him. She had not dropped her datapad. She was still holding it in one hand. The other three, chorus, stared in shock. For a moment, nobody moved. Then they all attacked at once. What happened next took 11 seconds. Marcus would remember every moment of those 11 seconds for the rest of his life. The girl moved like water. She moved like fire. She moved like nothing Marcus had ever seen before. The chorus were bigger than her. They were stronger than her. They were trained warriors from a warrior species. It did not matter. She broke them. She did not kill them. Later, Marcus would realize that this was a choice. She could have killed them easily. Instead, she disabled them. Joints were dislocated. Bones were cracked. Pressure points were struck with perfect precision. The largest. Korath, a cadet named Groth, who weighed over 400 pounds, flew through the air and crashed into a reinforced training dummy. The dummy was designed to withstand weapons fire. Groth hit it so hard that it shattered. The walls cracked. Equipment broke. Emergency lights flickered on and off. When it was over, 4 Korath cadets lay on the ground, moaning in pain. The corridor looked like a bomb had exploded in it. The girl set down her datapad carefully on a pile of debris. She walked over to Marcus and knelt beside him. Can you stand? She asked. Her voice was still calm. She was not even breathing hard. Marcus stared at her. What just happened? I stopped them, she said simply. Can you stand? We should go. Security will be here soon. She helped him to his feet. His legs were shaky. His whole body hurt. But he could stand. What is your name? Marcus asked. Elena, she said. Elena Vasquez. Combat Specialization Track, 3rd year. I am Marcus Chun, he said. engineering and tactical analysis. I know, Elena said. You are the smartest human at this academy. Maybe the smartest person of any species. She looked at the broken Korath on the ground. You did not deserve what they were doing to you. Nobody does. Lights appeared at the end of the corridor. Voices shouted. Security had arrived. Elena picked up her datapad and stood beside Marcus. Her face was still calm. She showed no fear, no regret, no worry about what would happen next. What happens now? Marcus asked. Now? Elena looked at the approaching security officers. Now we tell the truth. And we see if the truth matters. Marcus looked at the destroyed corridor. At the broken Korath. At this small human girl who'd just done the impossible. Why? He asked. You do not even know me. Why did you risk everything to help me? Elena was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft but firm. Because you were on the ground, she said. Because they were laughing. Because there was going to be another kick. Because someone had to stop it. She looked at him with eyes that had seen too much pain. Because I know what it feels like when no one comes. When no one helps. When you are alone and afraid, and the universe does not care. She turned to face the security officers. I will not be the one who walks past, Elena said. Not ever. Not for anyone. The security officers surrounded them. Questions were shouted. Commands were given. Both humans were placed in restraints and led away. Behind them, Thrak groaned in pain and cursed in his native language. He swore revenge. He swore that the humans would pay for what they had done. But as Marcus looked at Elena, walking calmly beside him with her head held high, he felt something he had not felt in a long time. Hope. Elena sat in the detention cell and thought about home. Home was a planet called New Valencia. It was a frontier world, far from Earth, far from the safe core systems of human space. The colonists who lived there were farmers and miners and builders. They worked hard and asked for nothing except to be left alone. Elena had been 8 years old when the Kreth attacked. The Kreth were raiders. They came from the outer regions of the galaxy, where law did not reach. They attacked small colonies, stole resources, took prisoners to sell as slaves. New Valencia was supposed to be too small to notice, too poor to bother with. The Kreth noticed anyway. Elena remembered the sky turning red with fire. She remembered the sounds of explosions and screaming. She remembered her father pushing her into a basement shelter and telling her to stay quiet no matter what she heard. She remembered the sounds she heard. Her father never came back. Neither did her mother. Neither did her older brother. When the colonial militia finally drove the Kreth away 3 days later, Elena was alone. 8 years old, covered in dust and dried tears, the only survivor of her family. But that was not the end. 2 years later, the Vrelian swarm came. They were insect-like creatures who consumed everything in their path. They ate crops, ate buildings, ate people. New Valencia fought them off, but the colony was nearly destroyed. 3 years after that, it was the Hollowed, a species that had given up their bodies and existed only as machines. They wanted to convert organic life into more machines. The colonists fought them too. Each time, Elena survived. Each time she lost more people she cared about. Her adopted family. Her friends. Her teachers. By the time she was 16, she had lived through more war and death than most soldiers see in a lifetime. That was when she made her decision. She would become strong. So strong that no one would ever hurt the people she loved again. So strong that she could protect anyone who needed protecting. She applied to the Veltharine Military Academy. She trained every day until her body broke, and then she trained more. She studied every combat style from every species in the galaxy. She learned their weaknesses, their pressure points, their vulnerabilities. When she arrived at Velthary, she was already the most dangerous human alive. She just never told anyone. She preferred it that way. She did not want to fight. She did not want to hurt people. She just wanted to be ready if she had to. Now, sitting in this detention cell, she was ready. The door opened. A security officer entered. He was Vellani, one of the founding species of the Compact. The Vellani were tall and thin, with blue skin and large dark eyes. They were known for their intelligence and their sense of justice. "Cadet Vasquez," the officer said. "The commandant will see you now." Elena stood up and followed him. The walk to the commandant's office took several minutes. The academy was enormous, built to house thousands of cadets from dozens of species. The hallways were filled with students who stopped and stared as Elena passed. Word had already spread. Everyone knew what had happened. The commandant's office was at the top of the central tower. It had windows that looked out at the stars in every direction. It was beautiful. Elena did not notice. Commandant Cerise stood behind her desk. She was old for a Villani. Her blue skin faded to pale gray in places. But her eyes were still sharp, still intelligent. She had commanded fleets in 3 wars. She had killed more enemies than most soldiers could count. Now she ran the academy, shaping the next generation of warriors. "Sit down, Cadet Vasquez," Cerise said. Elena sat. Cerise studied her for a long moment. "Do you know why you are here?" "Yes, Commandant." "Tell me what happened." "In your own words." Elena told her. She described finding Marcus on the ground. She described asking the Korath to stop. She described what happened when they refused. She did not apologize. She did not make excuses. She simply told the truth. When she finished, Cerise was quiet for a long time. "You broke one of Thrak's arms in 3 places," Cerise finally said. "You dislocated Groth's shoulder and both his knees. You cracked 4 of Vaughn's ribs and gave him a concussion. You broke Kareth's jaw and 3 of his fingers." She paused. "You did all of this in 11 seconds. "Yes, Commandant." "How?" Elena considered the question. "I trained. Many cadets train. None of them could do what you did. I trained harder." Cerise leaned forward. "Where did you learn to fight like that?" "That was not standard academy combat training. That was not even standard human military training. Some of those techniques were Korath. Some were Villani. Some were from species I did not even recognize. I studied, Commandant. When you grow up on a frontier world, you learn quickly or you die. I chose to learn." Cerise nodded slowly. "New Valencia. I read your file. 3 major attacks before you were 16. Your entire biological family killed in the first one." She paused. "That explains some things." "It explains everything," Elena said quietly. "Why did you intervene tonight? You could have walked away. You could have pretended not to see. That is what most cadets would have done." Elena thought about the question. She thought about her father telling her to stay quiet. She thought about all the times no one had come to help. "Because someone had to," she said. "Because I could. Because walking away is the same as holding the boot yourself." Cerise was silent again. When she spoke, her voice was heavy. "The Korath ambassador has already contacted me. He is demanding your expulsion and imprisonment. He says you attacked his people without cause. He says you are a violent criminal who must be punished." "I defended a fellow cadet who was being beaten," Elena said. "The Korath attacked me when I tried to help him. I defended myself." "That is what the evidence shows," Cerise agreed. "Unfortunately, there is a problem. The monitoring systems in that corridor were disabled. There is no video footage of what happened. It is your word against theirs." "There were 4 of them and 1 of me," Elena pointed out. "They were all larger and stronger than me. They were armed with nothing but their bodies." "So was I. Does the ambassador really believe I attacked them without reason?" "What the ambassador believes does not matter," Cerise said. "What matters is what he can convince the council to believe. And the Korath have many allies on the council. They have power that humanity does not have." Elena understood. "So the truth does not matter. Only politics." "I did not say that," Cerise said sharply. "The truth always matters. But sometimes the truth needs help to be heard." She stood up and walked to the window. "I became commandant of this academy because I believed in justice. I believed that here, at least, the truth would matter more than power. I believed that we could create a place where strength was used to protect, not to destroy." She turned back to Elena. "I have watched Thrak and his friends for 3 years. I have received complaints from a dozen species. Cadets who were bullied, threatened, hurt. Every time, the evidence disappeared. Every time, witnesses refused to talk. Every time, the Korath embassy made the problem go away. Then why did you not stop it? Elena asked. Cerise looked old suddenly, tired. Because I was afraid. Because the Korath have power and humans are new. Because I told myself that keeping the peace was more important than protecting individuals. She shook her head. I was wrong. I see that now. What will you do? I do not know yet. The ambassador is demanding a formal hearing before the full Academy Council. Representatives from every major species will attend. The Korath want to make an example of you. They want to show that humans can be crushed whenever it is convenient. Elena stood up. Then let them try. I am not afraid of their hearing. I told the truth. I have nothing to hide. Cerise almost smiled. No, I do not think you do. But this is not about truth, Cadet Vasquez. This is about power. And right now, the Korath have more power than we do. Power is not everything, Elena said. I learned that on New Valencia. The Kreth had more power than us. The Vrelian swarm had more power than us. The Hollowed had more power than us. We survived anyway. Because power means nothing if you do not have the will to use it. And they did not have more will than we did. Cerise studied her for a long moment. You really believe that? I know it, Elena said. I have seen it. When everything else is gone, when there is no hope and no help coming, humans do not give up. We keep fighting. We keep surviving. We keep protecting each other. That is our power. And it is stronger than any fleet or army or empire. Cerise nodded slowly. Return to your quarters, Cadet. You are confined there until the hearing. I will do what I can, but I make no promises. Elena turned to leave. At the door, she stopped. Commandant? Yes? Cadet Chen, the one they were beating. Is he all right? Cerise checked her datapad. Minor injuries. Bruised ribs, some internal bleeding that was easily treated. He's in the medical bay, but will be released tomorrow. Good, Elena said. That is good. She left the office and walked back to her quarters. The hallways were still full of staring cadets. Some looked at her with fear. Some looked at her with disgust. But some looked at her with something else. Hope. She reached her quarters and locked the door behind her. Only then did she allow herself to sit down, to breathe, to feel the weight of what she had done. She had made herself a target. She had challenged one of the most powerful families in the galaxy. She had possibly destroyed her future and the future of every human who came after her. But she had saved Marcus Chun. She had stopped the boot from falling. She had refused to walk away. That was enough. Whatever happened next, that would always be enough. She lay down on her bed and closed her eyes. Tomorrow, the real fight would begin. Not a physical fight this time. A fight of words and politics and power. A fight she was not trained for. But she would face it anyway. Because that was what humans did. They faced things. As she drifted towards sleep, she thought about Marcus. About the fear in his eyes when she found him. About the hope in his eyes when she helped him stand. She thought about all the people she had lost. Her parents. Her brother. Her friends. All the people she had failed to save. But not today. Today she had saved someone. Today she had made a difference. Maybe tomorrow she would lose everything. Maybe the Korath would destroy her. Maybe she would spend the rest of her life in some alien prison, forgotten and alone. It did not matter. She had done the right thing. And no matter what the Korath or the Council or anyone else did, they could never take that away from her. Marcus Chun sat in the medical bay and refused to rest. The doctors had healed his bruises and fixed his internal bleeding. They had given him medicine for the pain. They had told him to sleep. He had ignored them. Instead, he worked. Marcus was not a fighter. He had never been a fighter. He was small and weak and afraid of physical confrontation. But he had other skills. Skills that the Korath had never considered. Skills that might save Elena Vasquez. He worked all night. The monitoring systems in Training Block 7 had been disabled. That was true. The Korath had made sure of it before they attacked him. They thought they were clever. They thought they had covered their tracks. They were wrong. Marcus was an engineering specialist. He understood systems in a way that other people did not. He saw connections that others missed. And he knew something that the Korath did not know. Every system in the Academy was connected. Even when one system was disabled, other systems kept running. Temperature sensors, air quality monitors, power usage trackers, emergency lighting controls. Each of these systems recorded data constantly. Each of them had small cameras and sensors that most people forgot about. None of these individual systems showed what had happened. But together, combined and analyzed by someone who knew what to look for, they told a story. Marcus collected data from 17 different systems. He fed it into a reconstruction algorithm that he had designed himself. He worked for hours, adjusting parameters, filling in gaps, checking his results against known facts. By morning, he had something. It was not perfect. The images were grainy and incomplete. The audio was broken and difficult to understand. But it was enough. It showed the Korath surrounding him. It showed Thrak kicking him while he was on the ground. It showed Elena arriving, asking them to stop, being threatened. And it showed Elena defending herself. Marcus copied the reconstruction to multiple secure locations. He encrypted it with codes that only he knew. Then he contacted the only person at the Academy who might help him. Commandant Cerise. An hour later, he stood in her office. His body still hurt. His face was still bruised. But his mind was sharp. "You recovered the footage," Cerise said, watching the reconstruction on her screen. "I did not think that was possible." "Everyone thinks that disabling the main cameras means there is no evidence," Marcus said. "They forget that modern facilities have thousands of secondary sensors. It just takes time and skill to use them." Cerise watched the reconstruction again. It showed everything clearly now. The Korath attacking Marcus. The laughter. The cruelty. Elena's calm request for them to stop. The threats against her. Her defense when they refused. "This changes things," Cerise said quietly. "Will it be enough?" Marcus asked. "The Korath ambassador is powerful. He has political connections across the compact. Will evidence matter to someone like that?" Cerise was quiet for a moment. "That depends on who else sees this evidence. If it is only me and you, the ambassador can make it disappear. But if others see it first, if the truth becomes public before he can suppress it, then he cannot hide it," Marcus finished. "Exactly." Cerise stood up. "The formal hearing is tomorrow. Representatives from 12 species will attend. The Korath ambassador plans to demand Elena's expulsion and imprisonment. He believes he has already won. He believes there is no evidence to contradict his version of events. He is wrong. Yes, he is. But we need to be careful. If we reveal this evidence too early, the ambassador will find a way to discredit it. We need to wait for the right moment." Marcus nodded. He understood strategy. He had studied it his whole life. The hearing itself. We present the evidence then, when everyone is watching, when the ambassador cannot hide what he has done. "Exactly," Cerise said. "Can you prepare a clear, undeniable presentation for the hearing?" "Yes, Commandant." Cerise looked at him with new respect. "You are not what I expected, Cadet Chun. Your file says you are an engineering specialist with no combat abilities. It says you prefer to avoid conflict. All of that is true. Yet here you are, injured, exhausted, risking your future to help someone who helped you. That takes a different kind of courage than fighting." Marcus thought about it. Elena stopped them because she could not walk away. "I am doing this because I can. Because I have skills that she does not. Because this is my fight too, even if I cannot fight it with my fists." Cerise nodded. "Go prepare the presentation. I will make sure you have time to speak at the hearing." Marcus left the commandant's office and returned to his quarters. He worked through the day, refining the reconstruction, preparing explanations that any species could understand. He did not eat. He did not rest. By evening, Other cadets began to visit him. The first was a Threasic named Villy. The Threasic were small creatures, barely 3 feet tall, with multiple arms and large, sensitive eyes. They were often bullied by larger species. Marcus had never spoken to Villy before. "I heard what happened," Villy said quietly. "I heard what the human girl did. I heard that you were trying to help her." "Yes," Villy hesitated. "I want to help too." "Thrak and his friends? They hurt my roommate last year. Broke 3 of his legs. We tried to report it. Nothing happened. They made it go away." "I am sorry," Marcus said. "My roommate went home. He could not stay here anymore. He was too afraid." Villy's large eyes were wet with emotion. "If I can help stop them, I want to. Tell me what to do." More cadets came. A Villani who had been threatened by the Korath for getting higher grades than them. A pair of Drenith, massive stone-like beings who had watched the Korath, heard others, but never spoke up because they were afraid of political consequences. A Korath cadet, surprisingly, who was ashamed of what his species had become. "Not all of us are like Thrak," the Korath said. His name was Brel, and he was smaller and quieter than others of his kind. "Some of us believe in honor. Real honor, not the twisted thing Thrak's family calls honor. I will testify. I will tell the council what I have seen." By nightfall, Marcus had 17 witnesses. 17 cadets from 9 different species who were willing to stand up and tell the truth. It was more than he had hoped for. That night, he went to visit Elena. She was still confined to her quarters. A security officer stood outside her door, but he allowed Marcus to enter. Elena was sitting on her bed, reading something on a datapad. She looked up when he entered. "Cadet Chan," she said, "you should be in the medical bay." "I am fine. How are you?" Elena shrugged. "Waiting. The hearing is tomorrow. After that, we will know." Marcus sat down in the chair across from her. "I wanted to thank you for what you did, for saving me. You do not need to thank me." "Yes, I do. You risked everything for me. A stranger. Someone you did not even know. I will never forget that." Elena was quiet for a moment. "On my homeworld, there is a saying. No one fights alone unless everyone has failed. I was taught that protecting others is not a choice. It is a duty. The moment I become someone who walks past, I become as bad as the ones holding the boot." Marcus nodded. He understood. "I wanted to tell you something," he said. "Something that might help tomorrow." He told her about the reconstructed footage, about the 17 witnesses, about the plan to reveal the truth at the hearing. For the first time since he had met her, Elena smiled. It was a small smile, just a slight curve of her lips, but it transformed her face. She was beautiful when she smiled. "You did all of this?" she asked. "Since last night? I had help. Many cadets want to see the truth come out. They have been waiting for someone to stand up. You gave them that." Elena shook her head. "No, you gave them that. I just hit some people. You did the hard work." "We both did our part," Marcus said. "That is what humans do. We work together. We help each other. We do not give up." Elena's smile grew slightly. "You sound like a recruitment poster." "Maybe." Marcus stood up. "I should go. I need to finish preparing for tomorrow. But I wanted you to know that you are not alone. Whatever happens at the hearing, you will have friends standing with you." He walked to the door. Elena's voice stopped him. "Marcus?" He turned back. "Yes?" "Thank you. For not giving up. For fighting even though you are not a fighter." Marcus thought about it. Someone wise once told me that walking away is the same as holding the boot yourself. I am choosing not to walk away. He left her quarters and returned to his own. Tomorrow would be the most important day of his life. He would stand before the leaders of a dozen species and present evidence that could change everything. He would challenge one of the most powerful families in the galaxy. He was terrified, but he would do it anyway, because Elena had taught him something important. Courage was not the absence of fear. Courage was being afraid and acting anyway. Courage was standing up when everyone else sat down. Courage was fighting with whatever weapons you had, even if those weapons were just a mind and a will and a refusal to accept injustice. Marcus Chen was not a warrior, but tomorrow he would fight. And maybe, just maybe, he would win. The Great Hall of the Valkyrie Academy had not been this full in decades. Representatives from 12 species filled the observation galleries. Cameras broadcast the proceedings to hundreds of worlds. What had begun as a simple disciplinary hearing had become something much larger. It had become a test of whether justice still existed in the Galactic Compact. Elena stood at the center of the hall. She wore her cadet uniform, clean and pressed. Her face was calm. Her hands were steady. If she felt any fear, she did not show it. Across from her stood the Korath ambassador, Kragan. He was massive, even by Korath standards, nearly 8 feet tall and built like a mountain. His gray skin was covered with scars from battles fought long ago. He looked at Elena the way a predator looks at prey. Beside him stood Thrak, his arms still in a healing cast. His face was twisted with hatred. Beside Thrak stood his father, General Voss, one of the highest-ranking military officers in the Korath Empire. They had brought their full power to crush one human girl. Commandant Cerise presided over the hearing. She sat at a raised platform with representatives from each major species beside her. This was not just an academy matter anymore. This was a matter for the entire compact. "We are gathered to determine the truth of events that occurred 3 nights ago," Cerise announced. "The Korath delegation has accused Cadet Elena Vasquez of unprovoked assault. Cadet Vasquez claims she acted in defense of a fellow cadet. We will hear evidence from both sides." Ambassador Kragan stepped forward first. His voice was deep and commanding. "The facts are simple," he said. 4 Korath cadets were engaged in traditional warrior bonding exercises. Without warning or provocation, the human Vasquez attacked them. She broke bones. She caused permanent damage. She did this with savage brutality that has no place in this academy or in the compact. He gestured at Thrak's healing arm. "Look at what she did. Look at the injuries she caused. This was not defense. This was assault. This was a crime." He turned to the assembled representatives. "We demand that Cadet Vasquez be expelled from this academy immediately. We demand that she be imprisoned for assault against citizens of the Korath Empire. We demand that humanity pay compensation for the injuries caused by their savage." The word hung in the air. Savage. It was what many species still called humans behind closed doors. Newcomers, primitives, savages. Cerise nodded. "Thank you, Ambassador. Cadet Vasquez, you may respond." Elena stepped forward. Her voice was clear and steady. "I did assault the Korath cadets. That is true. But it was not unprovoked. It was not savage. It was necessary." She turned to face the galleries. 3 nights ago, I was walking through Training Block 7. I was looking for a quiet place to study. Instead, I found 4 Korath cadets beating Cadet Marcus Chun while he lay on the ground. They were laughing. They were enjoying it. They would have killed him if I had not stopped them. Ambassador Kragan snorted. "A convenient story. But there is no evidence. The monitoring systems in that area were offline. There is only your word against the word of 4 Korath warriors." "Actually," a new voice said, "there is evidence." Marcus Chun stood up from the observation gallery. He walked down to the center of the hall, carrying a datapad. His face still showed bruises from the beating. He moved slowly, carefully, but he moved. "Commandant," he said, "I have evidence that shows exactly what happened that night. I request permission to present it." Cerise nodded. "Permission granted." Marcus connected his datapad to the hall's display systems. A holographic image appeared above the center of the room, large enough for everyone to see. "The main monitoring systems were disabled," Marcus explained. "The Korath made sure of that. But they forgot about secondary systems. Temperature sensors, air quality monitors, power usage trackers. Each of these systems has small sensors that record constantly. I collected data from 17 different systems and used a reconstruction algorithm to rebuild what happened. The hologram began to move. It showed Training Block 7 from multiple angles. It showed Marcus walking through the corridor. It showed the Korath surrounding him. It showed Thrak throwing him to the ground. It showed all 4 Korath kicking him while he lay helpless. The audio was broken, but some words came through clearly. Soft ones. Break you. Your entire species is a mistake. The laughter was the clearest of all. That ugly, cruel laughter. Then the hologram showed Elena arriving. It showed her asking them to stop. It showed Thrak threatening her, telling her to wait her turn. It showed his boot rising to kick Marcus again. It showed what Elena did next. In 11 seconds, she disabled all 4 Korath. In 11 seconds, she saved Marcus's life and ended the assault. When the hologram ended, the Great Hall was silent. Ambassador Kragan's face had gone pale. Thrak was staring at the ground, unable to meet anyone's eyes. General Voss looked like he wanted to murder someone, but for the first time, he had no words. Cerise spoke into the silence. Is this reconstruction accurate, Cadet-chan? It is as accurate as the available data allows, Marcus said. But I am not the only witness. He turned to the galleries. There are others who have seen similar things. Others who have been victims of Thrak and his friends. Others who have stayed silent because they were afraid. They are afraid no longer. One by one, Cadet stood up. Vilai the Thresik stood first. Then the Villani who had been threatened. Then the Drenith who had watched in silence. Then Brel, the Korath who believed in real honor. Then a dozen others. 17 witnesses. 9 species, all telling the same story. The Korath had been bullying smaller species for years. They have been hurting people, threatening people, breaking people. The Academy administration had looked away because of Korath political power. Everyone knew. No one had done anything. Until now. When the last witness finished speaking, Cerise turned to Ambassador Kragan. Ambassador, do you wish to respond? Kragan was silent. For the first time in his long career, he had no strategy, no answer, no way to twist the truth to his advantage. The evidence was too clear. The witnesses were too many. General Voss stepped forward instead. His voice was cold with rage. This changes nothing. The humans still assaulted Korath citizens. Regardless of what my son may have done, she had no right to use such violence. She should have called security. She should have walked away. Elena spoke before anyone could stop her. Walk away? While they beat him? While they laughed? While his blood spread across the floor? She shook her head. I could not walk away. I will never walk away. Not when someone needs help. Not when I have the power to stop evil. She turned to face General Voss directly. Your son is a coward. He attacks those who cannot fight back. He hides behind his family's power. He thinks strength means hurting the weak. He is wrong. How dare you, Voss began. I dare because I know what real strength is, Elena continued. Real strength is protecting others. Real strength is standing up when everyone else sits down. Real strength is choosing mercy when you have the power to destroy. She looked at Thrak. I could have killed your son. It would have been easy. But I did not. I stopped him without killing him. I gave him a chance to become something better than he is. She turned back to the assembled representatives. That is what humans do. We do not seek power for its own sake. We do not crush others to prove our worth. We protect. We defend. We build. And when we must fight, we fight to end suffering, not to cause it. The Great Hall was silent again. But this silence was different. This silence was full of thought, of consideration, of species looking at humanity with new eyes. Finally, a small voice spoke. It was a Thresik representative, barely visible behind the larger delegates. I have watched the Korath bully my people for centuries, the Thresik said. We are small. We are weak. We have no power in the compact. No one has ever stood up for us. No one has ever fought for us. The Thresik's voice grew stronger. Until now. This human girl did what the entire compact has failed to do for 1,000 years. She said no. She stopped the boot. Another voice joined in. It was a Vellani delegate. The evidence is clear. The Korath cadets were the aggressors. Cadet Vasquez acted in defense of a fellow cadet. This is not a crime. This is exactly what we teach at this academy. More voices followed. Species that had been bullied by the Korath for generations. Species that had watched in silence because they were afraid. Species that finally saw a chance to speak the truth. Cerise raised her hand for silence. When the hall was quiet, she spoke. The evidence shows that Cadet Vasquez acted in defense of Cadet Chun, who was being brutally assaulted. The use of force was proportional to the threat. No laws were broken. She turned to Ambassador Kragan. Furthermore, the evidence shows that Korath cadets have engaged in a pattern of assault and intimidation against other species for years. This academy has failed to address this behavior. That failure ends today. Kragan found his voice at last. The Korath Empire will not accept. The Korath Empire will accept the truth, Cerise interrupted. Because the truth is now public. Every species in the compact has seen what your cadets did. Every species has heard the witnesses. There is nothing left to hide. She stood up. This hearing is concluded. Cadet Vasquez is cleared of all charges. The Korath cadets involved in the assault will face disciplinary action. Up to and including expulsion. She paused, looking at Elena. However, I leave the final decision about consequences to Cadet Vasquez herself. She was the one who stopped the assault. She has earned the right to decide what happens next. Every eye in the Great Hall turned to Elena. She stood alone in the center of the room. The most powerful people in the galaxy waited to hear what she would say. She could demand anything. Expulsion, imprisonment, destruction of the careers that the Korath cadets had worked so hard to build. Instead, she spoke quietly. I do not want revenge. I want change. She turned to Thrak. You hurt people because you did not understand them. You saw weakness and you attacked it. You never learned that true strength has nothing to do with hurting others. She took a breath. I request that the Korath cadets not be expelled. Instead, I request that they be required to serve 1 year of humanitarian aid on a frontier world. Let them see the people they have dismissed as weak. Let them see what real strength looks like. Let them learn what we have learned. The hall erupted in surprised murmurs. This was not what anyone had expected. Cerise considered for a long moment. Then she nodded. Request granted. The Korath cadets will serve 1 year of humanitarian aid before being allowed to return to the academy. If they complete this service with honor, they will be given a second chance. She looked at Elena with something like respect. This hearing is concluded. Elena walked out of the Great Hall with her head held high. Behind her, the galaxy would never be the same. 10 years had passed since that day in the Great Hall. The galaxy had changed. Thrax stood at the window of his office on Korath Prime, watching the sun set over the mountains. He was older now, his gray skin marked with new scars earned in service, not in cruelty. The healing cast on his arm was a distant memory. The hatred that had once filled his heart was gone. In its place was something else. Something he had not known existed until a human girl broke his arm and his certainty in the same moment. After the hearing, he had been sent to a frontier world called Hope's Landing. It was a human colony, one of the newest and poorest settlements on the edge of explored space. The colonists there had nothing. No military protection. No advanced technology. No power in the compact's politics. But they had something else. Thrak had arrived expecting to serve his sentence in shame and anger. He had expected to find the soft humans he had been taught to despise. He had expected to count the days until he could return to the academy and put this humiliation behind him. What he found was different. The colonists of Hope's Landing were not soft. They were the strongest people Thrak had ever met. He watched them rebuild after storms destroyed their crops. He watched them share food when there was not enough for everyone. He watched them protect strangers who arrived with nothing, giving them homes and work and purpose. He watched a woman named Maria spend her last credits to buy medicine for a child who was not her own. He watched a man named Thomas walk into a burning building to save a family he had never met. He watched children share their toys with the Korath soldier who had come to serve a sentence among them. They did not hate him. They did not fear him. They taught him to farm. They invited him to their meals. They told him stories about Earth, about the long human journey from a single blue world to 1,000 colonies across the stars. And slowly, painfully, Thrak began to understand. Strength was not measured in how much pain you could cause. It was measured in how much good you could do. Power was not about domination. It was about protection. The humans were not weak because they helped each other. They were strong because they helped each other. When his year of service ended, Thrak did not return to the academy immediately. He stayed on Hope's Landing for another 6 months, helping to build a new school. When he finally left, the colonists threw him a party. They gave him gifts they could not afford. They called him friend. He wept for the first time in his adult life. Now, 10 years later, Thrak was Admiral Thrak, commander of the Korath Third Fleet. He had earned his rank not through cruelty or politics, but through service. He had protected convoys. He had saved civilians. He had become the kind of soldier he once would have mocked. His door chimed. "Enter," he said. His aides stepped in. "Admiral, the new cadets have assembled for your address. They are waiting in the Great Hall." Thrak nodded. "I will be there shortly." Every year, he returned to the Valkyrie Academy to speak to the incoming class. It was tradition now. The cadets expected it. They knew his story. Everyone in the galaxy knew his story. He walked through the halls of the academy, remembering. Here was where he had cornered smaller cadets and made them afraid. Here was where he had laughed at their pain. Here was where he had believed he was strong. He had been so wrong. The Great Hall was full when he arrived. Thousands of cadets from dozens of species filled the seats. They fell silent as he approached the podium. Thrak looked out at them. He saw Korath and Vellani and Thresik. He saw Drenith and humans and species that had not even been in the compact when he was a cadet. The galaxy had changed. New species had joined. New alliances had formed. And humanity was at the center of it all. "I want to tell you a story," Thrak began. "It is a story about a cadet who thought he was strong. A cadet who believed that power meant hurting others. A cadet who beat a smaller student on the floor of this academy and laughed while he did it." The hall was silent. That cadet was me. He told them everything. He did not hide his shame. He did not make excuses. He told them about Marcus Chun, the brilliant engineer who had been too small to fight back. He told them about the boots and the laughter. He told them about the moment when everything changed. "A human girl stopped me," he said. Her name was Elena Vasquez. She was half my size. She was half my strength. But she was 10 times my worth as a soldier and as a person. She broke my arm in 3 places. She broke my certainty in ways that will never heal. He paused, remembering that moment in the corridor. I hated her at first. I hated her for humiliating me. I hated her for showing the galaxy who I really was. I planned revenge. I dreamed of the day I would make her pay. He smiled slightly. Then she asked that I be sent to serve on a frontier world instead of being expelled. She gave me a second chance that I did not deserve. She believed I could become someone better than I was. He looked at the cadets. That is the real story. Not the broken arm. Not the destroyed corridor. Not the political drama that followed. The real story is that a human girl could have destroyed me, and instead she saved me. He told them about Hope's Landing. About the colonists who taught him what strength really meant. About the moment he realized everything he believed was wrong. The humans have a saying, he said. The measure of a person is how they treat those who can do nothing for them. I did not understand that saying when I was your age. I thought it was weakness. I thought it was something soft species told themselves to feel better about being weak. He shook his head. I was a fool. That saying is the truest thing I have ever heard. The measure of a person is not how much pain they can cause. It is not how many enemies they can crush. It is not how much power they can hold. He leaned forward, his voice intense. The measure of a person is whether they stop the boot or whether they hold it. Whether they protect the fallen or step over them. Whether they build or destroy. Whether they choose mercy when they have the power to choose revenge. Thank you for watching.